Today we are going to learn all about the magic in World of Warcraft. We have everything here, from holy to void to fell magic. We even got the arcane and death magic here and druidism. Yo, that's exciting. Let's learn more about the magic in Warcraft.
This video is sponsored by NordVPN. World of Warcraft is a fantasy game, and you can't have fantasy without magic.
True.
On your adventures in Azeroth, you'll find different forms of magic that can range from holy and righteous to pretty flowers and nature and fuzzy cute animals.
That's cool.
And even abhorrently evil and downright demonic forms
Fell
of magic.
magic.
The origin of most of this wizardry is based off of the most fundamental aspects of the Warcraft universe. Before there was an Azeroth, there was nothing. But you can't have nothing without something. So in the nothing, there was energy that came from something. The most basic forces in the universe are the light and the void. These forces are the yin and yang that keep each other in check. Without light, there is no black abyss of darkness.
You know what confuses me so much? Like, they're opposites, right? So don't they have like some sort of negative reaction if they get too close? It's kind of like you have with like electricity, right? I'm actually like wondering if there's like some energy between them if they get too close or something. Like, this makes me wonder. And this is something that always confuses me about the priest class in WoW. Like discipline priest, for example, you have shadows like void spells and you have holy spells. But how comes it actually functions that you can cast both type of spells? Like, this is the thing I never understood when it comes to like void and light. Like, if they are opposites, how comes there's an individual that can use both and it doesn't bring harm? That's actually fascinating. Maybe actually this will be explained here.
Forces are the yin and yang that keep each other in check. Without light, there is no black abyss of darkness. Without darkness, you can't shine the brightest light. And oh, bro, we are getting really deep. So, okay, so there's these cosmic forces, they clash with each other. That's how life is born on the universe. There's some Titan dudes, blah, 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 blah. Azeroth is there, and here we are now.
We're in Stormwind, the cathedral.
These cosmic powers can be tapped into the form of holy or shadow magic. First, let's talk about holy. Imagine if the Pope actually had superpowers and he could use the Force. That is what holy magic is, for the humans at least. In order to call upon the light to aid you, it requires your complete willpower to harness this mysterious force and faith that what you are doing is completely morally right. If you aren't completely faithful to the light and don't have the required positive vibes, you'll fail the vibe check, and the light will not aid you. The Church of the Holy Light is founded on 3 virtues to make sure that you have these positive vibes. Respect, and noticing your place in the universe and strive to fight for its well-being. The tenacity to fight in the name of the light, and realizing that even the smallest actions can change the world for the better.
There's a contradiction, because there are already some things that the Scarlet Crusade did not have, and they could cast light magic, right? So they can call upon the light, but they don't have those virtues.
And finally, a balance of compassion and consideration if your aid will transfer to a positive change in the universe.
Sounds fine.
Following all these rules will allow a member of the church to manifest a world of honor and justice. Now keep in mind, light magic's morality is based on the person that is wielding it. A perfect example of the light being used in a harmful way is the Scarlet Crusade, who think the outside world is full of unclean heretics, tainted by the evil stench of...
She's a Death Knight now.
Hey, focus here. We're talking about critical aspects of the lore. Of course, the outside world isn't full of plague-infested monsters, but the Scarlet Crusade illustrates how faith can turn into devout fanaticism that makes them closed-minded lunatics. Other races on Azeroth have also accessed the powers of the light through different cultural means. Sunwalkers worship the sun and Shi, which manifests into using more sun-based light attacks. You also have the Draenei, who have direct communication.
I think the Tauren, they confuse me the most, because if you even like the Paladins, they are like Sunwalkers, right? And they're supposed to cast fire and not holy spells, I think. If I'm not mistaken, they worship, is it Anshi or what the name is? The sun, right? Like the sun aspect. And shouldn't they like have fire spells and not holy spells? Like, I'm always wondering why they're not some sort of fire mages. Like, it would actually make sense if the Sunwalkers were actually fire mages or something. like fire shamans? Can you call them fire shamans, sort of? They're kind of like that, right? Yeah, let's just go with that. And by the way, guys, if you're new to this channel, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more content. But yeah, this is so confusing. That's why I don't get sometimes like the Tauren Paladins.
And Shi, which manifests into using more sun-based light attacks.
But that's
You
fire,
also have the
not
Draenei,
light,
who have
right?
direct communication with the Naru, who are pure manifestations of light.
The sun is
Hell,
fire.
you even have the Light-Forged Draenei, who are basically super soldiers who have let their bodies become a vessel to dispense light's
They're
justice.
cool, actually.
And there's even the Blood Elves, who enslaved a Naru and sucked out its life juice.
No more.
What? Elves being dicks? Whoa, yeah, no, totally haven't heard that one before.
Yeah.
But what if, no matter how much faith you had, the light still abandoned you?
Ooh,
For
the Forsaken.
this is the harsh reality they must deal with. Priests suffering from undeath can still call upon the light and it can still heal them, but it is just
Painful.
excruciatingly painful. In fact, channeling holy magic and being healed by it can have a side effect, where an undead can regain their senses. They can taste the decay in their mouths. They can smell their rotting flesh
Disgusting.
and feel the maggots crawling beneath their skin.
You know what I was wondering? And this is something that is like actually very interesting, and this is actually canon from the lore, and he even says it. So if the undead, they're using holy spells, they can smell, taste again, they can feel again. That means that they are rotten flesh or whatever they still have left of them. I mean, they have also a lot of bones. They can actually restore parts of their body. So in a way, they could do some sort of pain therapy to make their body look more fresh, in theory, right? So Forsakens that decay and rot away, they could do some sort of holy magic therapy. It will cause them out of pain, but they can live longer that way, I believe, right? Because they can restore parts of their body. But what if there's like actually such strong holy magic where actually a undead can be turned to a living being again? Would that not be possible in theory? Because we already see that can restore like the smell, they can feel how they like rot away. So if that can return so many body functions, what if there's a way if they can survive the pain? Maybe there are some rituals where there's like a 5% chance to succeed and 95% you actually die. And let's say you have like 100, that means from 105 Forsaken can become alive again and 95 die or something. Like maybe there is actually a way over time for Forsaken to become a living being again. But maybe there's like a small chance only, meaning that only a few can actually withstand it or something and be mortal again. Like this, sometimes I'm wondering if there's any way for Forsaken to return back to life somehow, maybe through some ritual, because we have not seen that yet. And I really hope Blizzard adds at least like a few NPCs that can somehow do it, or like maybe a storyline about one Forsaken that became human again. But maybe they can also point out that maybe from 100 only like a few, like 3, 4 can maybe actually survive this or so. It would be interesting lore, actually. I hope one day we see a Forsaken that becomes alive again.
Maggots crawling beneath their skin.
That would make things so interesting.
Yeah, it's not fun being an undead. In fact, it's really depressing actually. And that is why undead who were once members of the Church of the Holy Light have transitioned to a new form of practice. While holy magic focuses on the emotions of the heart, like hope, courage, and comfort, the powers of shadow incite emotions of the mind, like despair, doubt, and panic. In the light, you stand together as one,
like it's
but in
Star Wars with
darkness,
the dark side,
you are
right?
alone, fanatical in your pursuit for indescribable power.
A gnome, of course.
Shadow priests play off this characteristic of the corruptive influence of the mind. Harnessing the powers of the void involves riding the fine line between immense power and utter insanity as your mind falls victim to the old gods. Within the Forsaken, the Cult of Forgotten Shadow is where many summoners of the shadows lie, but users of the Void are in old god cults like the Twilight Hammer or even...
You know what I always would have hoped for? That Void, like Shadow Priest, they wouldn't be part of the priest, but it would be like our own class. Like maybe, I don't know, Shadow Mancer or something. Like they could get some fancy cool name. Or Shadow Mage or something like that. And they should have like 3 specs. Like why didn't we get a class that's just about the Void? Not like Priest and Shadow Priest, but one class and it has like 2 or 3 specs. Yo, that would be so cool. Like Shadow Priest should have been something independent and with a different name. That would be so cool.
even the
Too
Black
bad they
Empire.
merged it with the normal Priest.
And speaking of evil corruptions,
Oh. The Legion.
the powers of fell magic are just as, if not more addictive than the Void. The most infamous users
they
of
make
this
you hungry
corruptive
for
magic
power.
are the Burning Legion, of course. They are a near infinite army filled with demons that call the Twisting Nether their home. This plane of existence was created when the powers of the Light and Void clashed together on a cosmic scale, and this is where a lot of the fell and other magical energies reside. Every demon you find in the Warcraft universe was once uncorrupted, but under the command of the Legion, they've been tainted and twisted. The obvious example are the Eridar, who used to be Draenei, but accepted Sargeras' gift of power, and they turned red and mean and angry. Also, Draenei who have been affected by Fel, but have rejected its influence, have transformed into the malformed Broken.
This is what also confuses me here lore-wise. So we get those red Erida if they, like contact with like Fel and they accept it or something. But there are sometimes those broken, and there are those that rejected the Fel or so. Like this is something that's confusing me. How comes they become like crippled kind of, and they not, but they have the same kind of magic on them? So is that like a willpower thing or something? It is so strange. Like I really don't get why we have this and this. I think they were like added maybe later. Well, since when do they exist in lore? Because I feel like Blizzard maybe just came up with them later, and originally it was supposed to corrupt them like the Broken, and then they came later, and I don't know, it is kind of weird because I sometimes feel like the new lore that we get actually breaks the old lore at some point. So yeah, this year I'm so confused about. So they refuse it, then they become like this. If they accept it, they get a healthy, normal-looking body. That's so strange.
Been affected by Fel, but have rejected its influence, have transformed into the malformed Broken. Fel Hunters are also a great example
Ouch,
of
that looks
Fel's
painful.
influence. This is
Why
what
is
they
it
look like
always the
now,
gnome?
but this is what they used to look like. These demons
What?
can also be summoned by practitioners of Fel, but in order to summon one, a soul is needed.
Yeah, that's why we have soul shots.
Please help me.
Now, warlocks are not inherently evil per se, but when your class revolves around sucking the life force out of innocence, harnessing chaotic and corrupting magic, and being shunned by
Dark
most of
Iron Dwarf
society,
Warlock.
it's kind of hard not to be the bad guy. Using Fel is sort of a get-rich-quick style of spellcasting. It
Yep.
takes time to learn, but you can get a pretty high power level relatively quickly compared to practicing other
They're
forms
OP.
of magic. But
I mean, just look at Gul'dan, what he did. Like most of the warlocks are crazy OP, and we often have them as freaking dungeon bosses, like the Shadow Council, for example. And like look at Gul'dan, and it's really OP. I sometimes wonder if actually warlocks are even stronger than mages.
the
like
side effects
lore-wise.
of being a warlock
Gameplay-wise,
include
there's
slowly
balance.
turning into a
But
demon,
lore-wise?
having everybody hate you, the sudden urge to burn down orphanages, vomiting, and also
Ugh.
having the need to help your friends by summoning them and giving them cookies. So they aren't that evil.
Hooray!
They have some uses.
While Fel represents chaos, its counterpart is arcane magic, a form of magic that requires order and
Knowledge.
think of arcane magic kind of like the science of Warcraft. In order to hone such magic, it requires years and years of study in places like Dalaran, Stormwind's Mage Quarter, or Azuna, or really any other school. One of the reasons why it takes so much studying is because how diverse the magic really is. You can shoot pure arcane magic, or you can manifest it into fire or frost. There's abjuration, configuration, transmutation, annihilation, evisceration, mutation. But really, there's a lot of stuff you can do with arcane, from making muffins to teleporting around the world. And by the way, according to this book in the game, apparently it is possible for inexperienced mages to blink into walls, furniture, or even other people, and they suffocate and they die.
Ouch.
Which is
painful.
Horrifying.
Yeah.
A lot of the magic-focused places on Azeroth are built on top of ley lines. Think of these kind of like Azeroth's blood vessels, except they're filled with magic.
Ooh, this was actually very fascinating for the Surama quest line. I remember, like, when I was, like, unlocking the Nightborn, this was my last allied race on the hot side, I learned so much about the ley lines and how you can even use them to, like, travel and stuff.
The only problem is the Burning Legion loves finding these high doses of magic and corrupting it. So users of Arcane need to find a way to mask the high arcane dense locations. They can do this by setting up runestones around their city. You could make your city float in the sky, but those are not foolproof ways to make sure that you are protected. Oh no. The mages have kept something powerful locked beneath Dalaran to protect them.
What is that?
And that's NordVPN, the sponsor of today's video. What if I told you the Burning Legion is real and are cyber hackers trying to steal your information? With NordVPN, you can mask your IP address and be anywhere in the world, like the UK, Spain, Africa, Stormwind, Orgrimmar. Okay, well, maybe not those last two, but anywhere else in the world, and enjoy the internet stress-free, knowing that you are safe. Not only do you get the best cybersecurity on the market, but you can have up to 6 connections, and it also unlocks region-locked websites like Netflix, and if you don't like it, there's a 30-day money-back guarantee. But don't take my word for it. Hear what one of the most prestigious mages of Dalaran has to say about NordVPN.
Hello, my name is Khadgar, and I love NordVPN.
Yeah, that's right. And look at all of these other technological experts that recommend NordVPN. Get 68% off of NordVPN, which is only $3.71 a month, plus an additional month free at nordvpn.com/platinumwow, or using the code platinumwow at checkout. Thank you, NordVPN, for making this video possible. Back to the video.
The ad is now over.
But really, some mages of Dalaran like Kel'Thuzad are frustrated with the whole concept of morality getting in the way of their studies. And that is why many mages have fallen into the dark arts known as necromancy. Necromancers practice the art of raising the dead and honing the craft of necrotic magic.
We need this class.
Over time, their bodies will slowly decay, causing them to wither into the very creatures they raise into a...
Wow, wait, so a necromancer can turn undead from, like, using it too often, or what? That's actually fascinating. I didn't know that. But yeah, this is actually one of the... Like, there are 2 classes I'm missing so much in WoW and that I want in the future to be added. But I'm not sure if Blizzard will ever do this. One is the Necromancer, and we need a Tinkerer class. We have, like, gnomes and goblins, and they're so much into technology. You could even say the Draenei are into technology. Like, we see this during Warlords of Draenor. There's even, what was this? There was, like, this one engineer warrior guy that you can recruit in the Shadowmoon Valley. So there are some races that are very close to technology, but yet we don't have a single technology-based class. Or look at the Mechanomes, for example. Like, we need Tinkerer and we need Necromancer, because we had Necromancers for so long, even in Warcraft 3 and stuff, right? So we really need this playbook. Like, Death Knights are basically the Necromancer paladins, you could argue, right? So it wouldn't break the class fantasy or the decay if a Necromancer comes. Because what the Necromancer would be is, it would be the priest version of the decay, while the priest is the priest version, of course, of the paladin. You guys get what I mean, right? Like, that's why we need the Necromancer.
It's the art of raising the dead and
We have
honing the
paladins to
craft
priests,
of necrotic
so why don't
magic.
we have necromancers to
Over time,
DKs?
their bodies will slowly decay, causing them to wither into the very creatures they raise into unliving.
Wow.
Some of the most powerful necromancers are liches, of course. These high-ranking necromancers have had their souls linked to a container called a phylactery. In order to kill a lich for good,
You need to
must
destroy
destroy
this.
their
Yeah.
phylactery. The most famous lich is Kel'Thuzad.
He
In
survived
Classic,
'cause he hit
he
it, right?
didn't destroy his phylactery and gave it to some random guy. That's why in Wrath of the Lich King he returned, and then we defeated him again, and apparently he's in the Shadowlands.
This was the most stupid part. Like, if you defeat such a strong opponent that is so dangerous, why would you give this to some random dude? You should just destroy it right on its spot. Like, I never understood why we had to give this to that guy. Why don't we just freaking destroy it? It was the
where
biggest
we'll
mistake.
probably defeat him again.
All that I am, anger, cruelty, vengeance, I bestow upon you,
That's Arthur's.
my chosen knight. I have granted you immortality, so that you may herald in a new, dark age for the Scourge.
Death Knights are another example of powerful wielders of death magic. These warriors were raised by the Lich King himself, imbued with magic and trained to be the ultimate killing machines to serve as a weapon to force all of Azeroth into undeath. Many of the Death Knights defected during the Battle of Light's Hope Chapel, and despite them
Yeah,
being
because
free
Arthur's
from the
betrayed
Lich King's
us.
grasp, they are still machines of death. All Death Knights struggle with an urge called eternal hunger, which is an unstoppable urge to inflict pain and suffering on the living on a regular basis.
But what about the ones raised from Bolvar? Bolvar is not an evil guy, right? So why would he do this on Death Knights? This is just for those that were raised by Arthas, right? What about like the new generation Death Knights under Bolvar? No, I don't know how we actually freaking raised Death Knights, or if they can even be still created, because the Helm of Domination was destroyed, right? And I think you need this to raise Death Knights, right? So maybe there can be no more new Death Knights be created. I don't know. Maybe in the future there's some law that explains if it's still possible. But I'm like wondering about if you have, for example, an allied race and you make a Death Knight and then you are raised by Bolvar, do you have this curse too to inflict pain upon others or not? Like, Blizzard never gave us like information about that, so I'm not sure. If anyone knows, let me know in the comment section, because I couldn't find anything on that. And if you go to freaking RP realms and you talk to people, they give you different opinions. Some say it's just because of the ritual itself, it has nothing to do with Arthas. Some say it was only made because they wanted the Death Knights to obey and not be peaceful, so Arthas made this. But the thing is, this is by Arthas. What about Bolvar DKs? This is something I don't understand. I can't
Urge
find
to
info on
inflict
that,
pain
sadly.
and suffering on the living on a regular basis. If Death Knights don't scratch this itch, they'll fall into madness and go on an unstoppable murder frenzy, which is the most badass and edgy thing I've ever heard in the Warcraft universe. And I'd love to talk about it more, but we have more magic to talk about.
Oh, wow.
Druidism is the total opposite of necromancy. Being a druid is all about hugging trees, the beauty of the living world, and probably never taking a shower. The first druid ever was
Disgusting.
Malfurion, who learned the ways of nature from Cenarius.
Knowledge.
And the way druids have such an intense connection to the world is their ability to access the Emerald Dream. The Emerald Dream is a magical realm created by the Titan Freya to represent a blueprint of how Azeroth should be formed. It's a version of Azeroth not affected by intelligent beings that altered the lands, so the dream flourishes with natural life. In the plane of existence we live in, druids take a long slumber while in the dream, and during the slumber they gain an incredibly deep connection with nature, which translates to harnessing its powers.
Imagine getting stronger by just sleeping and dreaming. That's a nice way to practice your art and become good at it, right? I imagine sleep makes you stronger. This is so cool about being a druid. That's why you should be a druid, because you can sleep all day long and you get stronger from that. Yes, you can flex your muscles then. You wake up and you're all pumped.
I'm awake. I'm awake.
There are tons of different branches of druidism one can explore.
That's a Worgen one,
There are
right?
druids of the Claw, Talon, Fang, Grove, Antler, Scythe, Raccoon, Ant, Muskrat,
Ant?
Monkey, because just like nature,
What?
druidism is incredibly diverse. But druidism is just one aspect of nature that deals with living things. But the other side of nature is more primal and deals with the elements that are the
shamanism.
building blocks of Azeroth. Since the world's very creation, the elements of water, fire, air, and earth have been in a battle for supremacy.
Earth,
The shamans
wind, and
are
fire,
mediators
heat,
who keep
Marco.
the elements of our world in check, making sure one is never stronger than the other, and harnesses these raging elemental forces to strike down their enemies. The relationship between a shaman and the elements they wield is like a partnership. A shaman must be in good standing with the elements and work in their favor in order to harness their power.
What the heck? What about goblins though?
And then there are goblins. This is one of the most goofiest race and class combos in the game. Goblins are greedy little monsters,
Priests,
all about making as
shamans.
much money as possible with the smallest amount of effort. They don't really care about the world. At all. The elements are business partners who have been convinced to sign a contract, which seems reasonable, but in the fine print, it states that the goblins can harness the powers of the elements for their own personal gain. I feel like this is kind of a bit of a stretch to make this connection, but
Yeah, it's dumb.
at the end of the day, who cares?
You know what they should have done? They should have done the same with freaking Draenei shamans on the goblins. The goblins, before they became super smart, maybe they actually, before the Kazhamite, basically, they had some ties to the elements. And there are like maybe some goblins that discovered to reconnect with the elements, just like before they became super smart. And that's why we have freaking goblin shamans. Like, this is something that Blizzard missed out on. Like, there was an opportunity to do this, to go back to like the more primitive goblins that were like close to the elements, and some reconnect now, even though they are smart, and now they actually mix the technology and their knowledge with their ancient knowledge or something. Like, this would have been a way better concept for goblin shamans, and they really missed out on that, unfortunately. But yeah, it's already too late.
At this point, WoW class and race restrictions are kind of just arbitrary lines in the sand. And that is all the magic we'll be talking about today. There are other subcategories, but maybe we can talk about those in another video. So yeah, I'll see you guys later. Magic away!
Gaze into my eyes and witness your doom.
Okay, it's over, and that was a good video. But yeah, like with the goblins and being shamans is kind of weird. For the Draenei shamans, it's explained like this. So some Draenei were disconnected from the light because they became broken, because the Fel changed them. So yeah, they tried to find other ways to harness power, and they ended up learning a lot about like the elements, and they connected to it. It was like Nobudo, or what was this guy's name? But there's like this one guy, and he actually ended up teaching the Draenei that were not corrupted, the regular ones, the arts of shamanism, right? And Draenei, they have some talent for that apparently as well, so they can actually learn this from the broken ones, right? And they're like, the super broken ones are even druids and stuff. So like I get this, like why Draenei can be shamans, even though they're like light worshippers, because they learned it from the broken ones. They found another way to harness some power, because instead of connecting with the light, they ended up connecting with the elements, and they taught this to the Draenei. Makes sense. But that with the goblin shamans, like I said earlier, I think it would have been way better if Blizzard explained it, the class and race combo, by saying that some goblins went back to their roots before they became smart with the Kazhamite, and they ended up reconnecting with the elements just like in the ancient ways, but now they are smart, so they use also technology to enhance their shaman powers. Like, that's what they could have done, and nobody would actually complain. And now, like, some people, especially RP players, are crazy confused how to RP a goblin shaman, because it's kind of weird making deals with elements. Like, why the heck would a fire elemental need gold or something? If the fire elemental touches this freaking melts in his freaking hand, right? So what kind of thing can you give to, like, elements that they can do? Like, they can't even consume food, can they? I don't think so. So yeah, making deals with elements, it's not like they're living beings. It's kind of strange. But yeah. But actually, it's very fascinating what kind of magic we have, like with void and holy magic, how they're opposites. Same with like how fel and arcane are kind of opposites. Like, we see a lot of opposites here. It's very interesting. But yeah, this was a very informative video by Platinum Mao. Very good. And yeah, which school of magic is your favorite one? Let me know in the comment section. And if you guys are new to this channel, please don't forget to hit that subscribe button for more content. And if you guys enjoyed this video, please don't forget to give this one a thumbs up. I will see you guys next time.